Jeff Parks, man.
All right, now I think we are live. Just kind of doing a live show, hangout, feed the post. That's where our podcast twice a week. You can find us Apple, Google, and Spotify. But just kind of wanted to do this today. Big Ten Tourney's going on. We have a game going on currently, and then there's 5 games that have already happened. Just kind of wanted to hang out, talk through them. And just kind of do our podcast live, more or less. We're gonna have Jeremy Frank come on in a bit. He does a lot of baseball stuff, but he also knows his college basketball. Really sharp guy. So we'll have him on in a bit, and just want this to be interactive. Put stuff in the chats, like kind of want to interact with you. Any questions, comments, whatever. Just kind of hang out, and we'll just see how this goes. First time for us, so I'm excited to do this though.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we feel like this is a good time, given that it's before kind of a really good slate tomorrow, and then kind of after, today. And so I think we want to talk through some of these games. Jeremy's going to come on in about 15 minutes and probably help us do that right now. Just recapping the day's events for anyone who hasn't been able to follow along. Currently, Maryland up 8-2 on Minnesota. Minnesota beating Nebraska last night in a close game. And then we had probably the game of the day, I would say, Penn State over Illinois by 3, which it was not that close, but it was a 3-point win for Penn State earlier in the day. And then we had Ohio State by 4 over Iowa. And, of course, Rutgers taking care of business versus Michigan. So we'll dive into all those games throughout this show. I don't know how long we're planning to go live. But wanted to kind of pop on. I mean, and Willie Dean makes the comment, all the low seeds win. Maybe that's a good place to start.
5-0.
You talk about the craziness of the Big Ten this season, Joe. And I mean, it's nothing encapsulates that better than just all the upsets so far. Not even that they're huge upsets. I mean, Ohio State was favored over Wisconsin. Certainly Minnesota winning was an upset. But yeah, it just feels like this league that has so much parity, and I don't know if it's a good thing. I've seen a lot of Big Ten hate today.
I froze for some reason.
Trash conference, all that kind of thing. Yeah, you're frozen, so let's get you figured out there. But yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter today about how bad the conference is. Ruta Chris asked about this. It's been typical mud fights for the most part. The game this morning, Rutgers and Michigan, was pretty ugly. In typical Rutgers fashion, it was an absolute rock fight.
There we go.
Yeah, Joe's back on here. And the Ohio State-Iowa game was like ugly in a different way. They scored more points, but it was still pretty rough. So it hasn't been a banner day for the conference, I wouldn't say.
No, I only caught half of what you said, but and I don't, Mike, it did it last time too to start. I don't know why, but yeah, low seeds winning. Like the Ohio State-Wisconsin game was ugly for a while. Wisconsin could not do a single thing in the first half, and then Ohio State just didn't score for, it felt like 15 minutes. And then Michigan legitimately, they ended up with 3 field goals in the second half today because of garbage time. And they had one for the first 19 minutes, coming into a game that was pretty much a must win for making the tournament.
And that's it. I mean, that was, getting into this game a little bit, like that was the bubble game of the day. I mean, those two teams needed a win. I would say I thought it was going to be Michigan. I thought pretty confidently, okay, Purdue's going to get Michigan in the second round, and pretty much written Rutgers off after the loss of Mawat Mag, who was a really good forward for them. They just bullied Michigan. We were texting about it. It was the kind of game Rutgers wanted to play, dominated them on the glass early, on the offensive glass. And so, I mean, we talk about this as Purdue fans all the time. Like, you can miss shots, and that can be good offense if you have the horses to go in there and get the offensive rebound. So I thought Rutgers did that. And look, Dickinson got his, but other than that, they shut down every other guy. I mean, no one else.
That wasn't easy.
Yeah, no, not at all.
And that they just went I don't know. It felt like they didn't even try to scheme for other guys at any point. Buffkin goes 3 of 8, I guess. Jet went 2 of 8. You just hope they hit a couple more shots. But They took 46 shots as a team. Dickinson took 17 of them.
Yeah.
Like they had, I froze again, man. Why am I freezing? We'll try this one more time.
Okay. Sounds good. Sorting through some technical difficulties here with Joe, talking about Michigan Rutgers a little bit. It was a game where Rutgers came out and Michigan gets out to a little bit of an early lead, and you're kind of thinking, okay, this is going to be Michigan's game. They're certainly the more talented team on paper, but like Joe said, they really just didn't run a whole lot of offense. They didn't have a field goal for the first 19 minutes of the second half. The game flips. Rutgers starts getting to some action. Cam Spencer got loose a little bit, and just really turned into a typical Rutgers rock fight. And when you get into the, when Rutgers has you where they want you in the stranglehold a little bit, like it's hard to get out of that. And Michigan certainly fell into that trap. You can really chew like 8 minutes can go by and you haven't hit a field goal, like Sydney said. I mean, it was 19 minutes, but like they really get you in a place where you just don't realize it. And all of a sudden you look up and it's been, a quarter of a game and you haven't scored or you haven't gotten into a rhythm. And I thought Rutgers did a good job of that.
Yeah, they made life tough on Dickinson. Especially in that second half, 2-3 bodies at him or on him at all times. And they just, their length just disrupted everything. Like Dickinson couldn't kick out from there. And it was just tough overall. Like Michigan legitimately couldn't generate anything. Freezing once again. This is tough. Why? I don't know. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna work on the camera on the backside. You can still hear me though. You're muted.
I can hear you. Yep.
There we go. Okay. It'll be better once Jeremy gets on too. I'll let you two talk for a bit and I'll reset on my end.
Yeah, for sure.
But we're just gonna for right now. I'm still going to just get my point across of they took everything away from Dickinson. They had so much help on the backside. And then the offensive rebounding. I don't know what the final numbers were, but that was one of my key points coming in was they needed to be able to dominate the offensive glass. And I'm talking about Rutgers. And they, at least at half, I know they did. And I believe that they did it in general. I'm pulling up the actual numbers here, but I thought that was I thought that was what was key for them is just getting back to their physicality. They're not a good offensive team. A small part of me just kind of dies inside every time they take 20 seconds to get to a McConnell 17-foot pull-up.
Yeah.
Obviously, and I think that's fair to say. He's not a good offensive player, and he's arguably the best defender in college basketball. So you have to play him, especially with their style. But, it's just tough for them to get good looks. Spencer gets going a little bit. Okay, he had 2 big threes, and in terms of the Purdue matchup tomorrow, he had his eye poked pretty bad. So, that'll be something to monitor too.
Yeah, it was. I mean, they just got what they needed out of everyone. Wolfhook came in, got some buckets. I think, like you said, Spencer Simpson really kind of impressed me. I thought he had a really nice game. He started. Kind of thought it'd be Andre Hyatt. But it was Simpson. They went small and played McConnell at the 4, which obviously you'd rather have him being guarded by 4s since he's not good offensively. Yeah. He did have a big shot there in I can't remember if it was early second half where to put him up 5, they ran this little 2-man action and he got in there and pulled up from mid range and knocked it down, and that got him up 5. And or maybe it was getting him up 2, and then Spencer had a 3 that put him up 5. But either way, I felt like that was kind of a big moment to get some separation. That game had been so back and forth until that point. Jeff Parks mentions a good point here that I've noticed certainly. The slipping and sliding has been pretty awful. They've talked about it a little bit on the broadcast, maybe it's the hockey, the Blackhawks at the United Center there. But it has been pretty brutal. The slipping and sliding on the ice or on the court. So I don't know what the deal is with that. I mean, we really, really don't want anyone to get hurt or anything like that. We don't run a rolled ankle or anything like that because of people were slipping in that Illinois Penn State game. Guys were just flying all over the place. So that was pretty weird. I don't know what they're going to do about that. I'm sure they're aware of it, but
yeah, that was the first game that's happened. It's
okay.
I've watched all of it, and that's really the first time it's happened. So,
but it was pretty egregious.
It was more than once. It was enough
Yeah.
where it's just like, hey, something's up.
But also, it was Matt Meyer doing it a lot, and you know what? That may not have been the floor on that.
Do you want to go on a little rant on Matt Meyer today?
I'll save that till we talk about the game. But Matt Meyer was brutal.
Okay. Yeah. No, he was not good.
He was brutal. But looking at Rutgers, I think they're a tough matchup. I mean, just for them to get this win, first off, is huge. I mean, from a big picture perspective, for Pikel to get them to this point. I mean, people had written them off, and really, as Braggs jumps in and defends the house that Jordan built, probably not just the ice. Yeah. So not the typical Bulls court, something that they may have brought in. That's probably a good point. I think with Rutgers, like just to get this win to lock up a tournament bid, that's big. I mean, people had really written them off after that Mag injury, myself included. So for them to come out and beat a Michigan team that was equally as desperate, like that's a huge win for them. And they're not going to necessarily go far in March, but the more Pikel keeps stacking these tournament appearances together, the better the program, and they've recruited at a high level recently.
Yeah, no, they're in a good spot. They have multiple they have at least one 5-star coming in, right? And then maybe another Ron Harper's little brother, who I think it's between like them, Duke, and one other, something like that for him.
Yeah.
But they're in such a good spot now compared to, I'm just kind of going through the 2018-19 year. They finished 7-13 in conference play. Year before that, 3-15. Now they're making their third straight NCAA tournament appearance, and that's a huge thing for them. And it's building blocks. Now you start to get some 5-stars if they can, fit in and stay within the Rutgers identity. And now you keep building, and next thing you know, they're legitimately competing for Big Ten championships and high seeds in the tourney and stuff like that. And that's a really, really good start. Pikel should basically just get whatever contract he wants whenever that's time. Yeah. Lifetime, whatever. Just give it to him. This is his program. Let him run with it, and hopefully, for the viewing sake, they get maybe Simpson develops into another scorer. Or they get one of these scorers to come in, because that's really all they need. They just need somebody to consistently create.
Yeah, and on the flip side, I mean, you look at Michigan; they're certainly headed for the NIT if they accept. And disappointing year for them, man. I mean, obviously a ton of close losses that could have gone either way. And maybe if some of those flip, that they're now in the tournament, but they didn't, and they didn't get a single marquee non-conference win. They struggled in conference to some extent. I mean, I think they won 11 games, but we can ask the chat here. Are you seeing Joe frozen? Chat, go ahead and throw something in there if you are.
Whatever you see me as, because
I see you as a black screen right now, but I don't know if they can see anything. So chat, let us know about that. But I think Juwan Howard's under some pressure now. I mean, you're likely going to lose Bufkin to the draft. You're certainly probably going to lose Jett Howard to the draft. Dickinson, who knows what he'll do. Mad Sis can't see me. Oh, they don't see anything. Okay, so that's interesting. Don't see Joe. Do you guys see me? Okay, they don't see Joe.
Okay. And that makes sense. Once Jeremy's going to hop on in just a couple. Once he gets on, then you two can banter, and then I'm just going to reset and hop back in, and it should be good from there.
Okay, sounds good. We will do that. But yeah, I think Juwan Howard's under some pressure. Like, he's going to need to have a nice bounce back season next year, and they're going to have to hit the portal hard. I mean, they really probably should have gotten Terrence Shannon last year if Mark Adams at Texas Tech wasn't as petty as he was, and certainly he's fired now. But they need some wings in the portal. They need some big wings because they have Doug McDaniel at point. They have Terrace Reed presumably taking over for Dickinson. But outside of that, I think they need some real an infusion of talent on the wings.
You think Dickinson's gone?
I don't know. He could be back. I think it's been mixed messages from him on that. I mean, Trace was pretty clear about it, but
yeah, I mean, it sounds, from what I've kind of heard from interviews and stuff, like I think he's making 7 figures in NIL.
Yeah,
well, especially him, like just kind of in that Drew Timme of like, why not be king at a big college? Well, I guess Gonzaga is not like big, but you know what I mean? Like a big time program for another year. You get to do what you want, make 7 figures. Like, don't blame him for if he wants to ride with that. But I agree. I don't know. I don't know if, like, I don't think he'll be fired over the offseason or anything. But what year did he take over? 2020 was his first year. They were
where they went far. I mean, they made an Elite Eight under him, right? Or
that second year. That was that team was nuts, right?
Yeah,
that was the Franz,
Livers, Poole,
Dickinson was still.
Yeah,
Dickinson was amazing as a freshman,
which he's basically still the same player. So and so I mean that he's been kind of riding
Mike
off
Smith.
that. Yeah, Mike Smith was really good at point guard.
He was nuts.
That team was loaded, and they lost to UCLA, I believe, in the COVID.
Yeah, by 51-49.
That's right.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Michigan fans are pretty upset. I mean, they're a pretty vocal fan base on Twitter, so you kind of see some of that. Maybe some of the lack of X's and O's. I don't know exactly. I'm not as tuned in with them. What I saw today was a team that just got shut down by the Rutgers machine. Just got kind of, like I said earlier, I think they just got kind of sucked into that Rutgers defensive machine in that second half and just couldn't recover.
Yeah, no, they legit had nothing, and it was shocking. Like, they ran that scissors play that you called out, or when we were just texting, and that was pretty early in the second half, I think, right? And then after that, because it should have been an at one.
Yeah. Yep.
And aside from that, it was just like try to get Dickinson the ball. I thought they got a couple good high-low looks for when they went Reed and Dickinson, but even then they couldn't convert. The first 2 field goals were threes. So
yeah. All right, we got we're gonna let Jeremy come in here. Joe, you can figure out what you need to do.
All right, should be back in like 2 minutes, hopefully.
All right, sounds good. All right, we are welcoming in Jeremy Frank here. Chat, can you see Jeremy? I just see a black screen for some reason. I don't know if that's what's going on there. Okay, we got you.
Cool.
Jeremy,
hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Sweet.
All right, so this is Jeremy Frank at MLB Random Stats on Twitter. Just, I think, accepted a position with the Cubs, right?
Yep.
Working in their analytical department. So pretty cool. Certainly not working in the college basketball world, but definitely a big fan. And we've talked Big Ten in the past. So Jeremy, how you doing, man?
Good. Thanks for having me on. Sorry for my basketball casualness, but I love listening to you guys talk on my way home from work. So glad I could come on.
No, we're all casuals here. We just pretend to be. The pros. So good to have you on. What do you want to talk about, man? Did you watch the games today or yesterday? I mean, anything stick out to you? We just watched the Penn State one. I don't know if you're able to catch much of that driving home, but
I missed that one. I saw that Penn State won. I didn't see any takeaways from it or anything, but so what happened in that one?
Yeah, I mean it was just Illinois got up 6 and then Danger got a bad tech and it kind of flipped on that, and then Pickett started to get going. I think Underwood called it booty ball, where Pickett was just backing him down.
Yeah. Who was guarding him?
Yeah. Do what?
Who was guarding him?
They switched it up. They wanted Shannon, but then they kept getting the switch. So they would get different guys on him. They got, for a little bit, they had Shannon, and then they switched it up. And whenever Harris or Epps were in there, he just attacked them.
Do you think Pickett's an NBA guy? I saw a Sam Vecini had a top 100 list from The Athletic, and he was like 99th or something on that list. And I have a hard time. I mean, I don't know. I know that the translation's tough, and maybe he doesn't have the perfect NBA game, but like, I have a hard time finding 98 players in this class that are better than him. Like, his floor is so high, I feel like. I mean,
I think so.
Know.
I mean, because couldn't you just do what they're doing now to a higher extent, where just have him post up and then put 4 shooters around him? I mean, I don't see why that. I mean, I guess
it's like, what position is he guarding? I guess is the question. Like, he's probably a little too slow to guard a 2 or 3, and I don't know if you're probably not athletic enough to guard. But I feel like you have the mismatches the other way too if he's running the point for you.
Yeah, it's interesting, Joe. We're talking about Pickett as an NBA prospect here. I guess he was
Yeah.
99th on Vecini's latest thing. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think he would struggle to guard. Certainly, they'd probably hunt him if you got a 6'8" wing on him who could just shoot over the top of him or go around him.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. Why not? I mean, I see guys who just aren't nearly as productive as him, go a lot higher or ranked a lot higher. So I wouldn't see why not.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It's like whether you want that. It's really whether you want that specific archetype. I see him going and just making bank in Europe. To be honest, that's probably where I see him end up.
Sure.
Is Penn State in the tournament now? I haven't looked at the bracketology. They should be in with the win, right?
Yeah, they're locked in. They're locked in, I think, and I think they'll probably maybe even avoid Dayton. Honestly, at this point,
I feel like they're going to be put against some mid-major 7 seed, and everyone's going to pick them to win, and they're just going to shoot 4 for 30 from 3 and lose.
Yeah, I think they play like a mid-major. It's so weird.
They're so extreme.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their 4 factors on both sides. They're 1 or 363 and everything. It's wild.
Yeah, I heard Ken Pomeroy talking about that on some other guy's podcast. I forget his name.
Hoop Vision, right?
Hoop Vision. They were talking about the Talladega Nights offense or something like that. Is what they called it.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, I don't know. I definitely think everyone's going to pick him. I mean, I love Shrewsbury. I think he's a great coach. I don't think he'll be there after this year. I think he's going to jump somewhere else, probably Notre Dame. But
you think so?
I think so. I've heard him, but today someone told me Greg McDermott to Notre Dame. So I don't know.
I've heard a lot of Fran buzz for Notre Dame.
Yeah, I've heard that too a little bit.
So I don't know. Wouldn't you think that'd be a worse job than what the level of candidate that's being mentioned? I mean, Notre Dame. I mean, it just feels like it doesn't feel like that good of a job, but some pretty high level dudes are being thrown out there. So I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not sure what their basketball funding looks like compared to football, but they do have a lot of money in their athletic department. I'm sure.
That's true.
I mean, they get a ton from. I assume some of that comes from football. So they you got a ton of resources, plus just the name.
They lost the Indianapolis Classic or whatever it's called. All that money from that. I'm sure they're trying to recoup that.
Yeah, true. That was one thing Purdue wanted to keep. Purdue was the only one who really wanted to keep that. Yeah. I still feel like we could play maybe Butler. I mean, it doesn't have to be Davidson. That was weird. I get they've maybe just done that for Fletch. I don't know, but
Speaking of Butler, what a terrible way for Eric Hunter Jr.'s career to end with the DNP academics.
Yeah. Oh wait, I didn't know it was academics.
Yeah.
Academics.
Tough. That is tough. I was thinking this the other day. Would you rather in this? And maybe I shouldn't even bring it up, but would you rather have had Eric Hunter in the backup spot or David Jenkins this year?
Jenkins, I think.
Yeah, I can go either way. I had this discussion the other day actually with a couple of my buddies, but I think if you get last year's Hunter, I would take last year's Hunter, but it's just looking at all the efficiencies drop from the guys that did go from last year to this year. Morton's not shooting 47% from 3 this year. Gillis isn't. I mean, he's shooting well, but not I don't think as well last year. Is Hunter going to shoot 40% like he did last year? Probably not. So at that point, I'd just take Jenkins.
Right. Yeah. Chat. Let us know about that. Purdue fans in the chat. What do you think? I think Hunter would play a lot more probably because of the defensive versus.
Yeah, Hunter has. It's just that. Could that? I mean, he'd be the connector for if Lawyer was off of as people have wanted even before Newman started taking off. He'd be that connector of.
Well, let's get Jeremy's thoughts. Let's get Jeremy's thoughts on Newman and Gillis being in there because our chat's been very pro Newman as most Purdue fans are.
And Newman backed it up the past few
games
or whatever.
Yeah, typically we've been very anti-Newman for the most part, and so they've kind of been on us a little bit here after the Illinois game. So what do you think about that? I mean, we're going to find out tomorrow, but I mean, he does add a little bit of being the aggressor defensively as opposed to Morton that I kind of like ball pressure and just kind of taking your ball and stealing it, creating offensive opportunities that way.
Yeah, I generally agree with you guys for the most part. I don't think he fits into the offense as well as you would want, but it's just tough when your two options are Morton and Newman. You kind of just have to make it work. It's not like we have a Sasha Stefanovic or some kind of a real Vince Edward. I mean, he was more of a 4, but you really don't have any offense of the three with Morton out there. Besides, like the ball kind of just moves a little bit better with him out there.
Yeah.
Newman is just like he's a vacuum. Like it kind of when the ball's going in, like it's nice to have out there, and his hands have been really active on defense the last couple of games, which is like kind of new. But I feel like that just kind of leads into like over jumping the passing lanes and like leading to easy points, kind of like in the future. So I don't know. I mean, it's worked out well enough that like, and it's not like Morton's playing like shooting. I mean, he's shooting okay, but like it's not like he's.
Yeah.
It's
Morton's
hard to
shooting better
argue.
than
It's hard to
Brandon
argue. Yeah, but Newman.
Conference play.
You can't even
But
say
it's
that
just-
Newman's
it's
shots
so
are harder
different.
because it's Newman's fault that his shots are harder because he takes much like tougher shots. Like Morton will. He's like all of Morton's shots are in rhythm, obviously, and Newman is the opposite of it. He just takes some crazy shots, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I think this comment's pretty accurate. It's just like his upside is there. If he can, Newman has to play. Newman has to have the game simplified. Like if he
What
can
is
just,
what is Newman's upside at this point? Like his freshman year self, like I
don't
love
know.
him as like
In the Illinois game. I mean, that's the peak.
Yeah.
Right?
it was the Illinois half. Like
Yeah,
it
half.
was
Yeah.
it was
His-
nice. Like
his upside's an elite defender, elite on-ball defender, and then you can knock down some shots.
The thing he
Yeah.
gives you, I think, is you're now no longer necessarily. I mean, there's no longer an easy, obvious guy to help off. If it's Lawyer, Gillis, Smith, and Newman with Edie, with First in there, man, how many assists has he taken away from Braden Smith?
Yeah,
It's
for real.
unbelievable. It's unbelievable. They're wide open shots, and Painter all Painter told us was how good of a shooter he was. And I bought in. I bought in hard on First. I thought he was going to be quite a bit better, but he's still had a nice season.
I don't mind Morton on like. Are you really that nervous? Like I know it's like I wish he was better, but like I feel like he's decent at making those shots. Like I think it was kind of just some bad luck at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I don't think Morton's
He's
bad.
up to 33% in conference play.
right.
Yeah,
and
Probably
like,
like third highest on the team.
Yeah. So I mean, we're getting down a Purdue rabbit hole. Let's pull it back here. We can talk. Maybe let's talk.
wait, can we talk about Newman's free throw shooting for a second?
Yeah,
What
sure.
happened there? The
I don't
Valpo
know.
did he go away from the Valpo free throw, or does he just get nervous? Like, is he just so? I think he's just thinking about his playing time so much when he gets to the line that he just like
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's
Like he
see.
was a 95% shooter his freshman year. Like where like what is he 75% right now? I feel like he's 1 or 2 every time.
Yeah, I don't know if that's adrenaline. I mean, he gets so fired up. I don't know. It's
He had
pretty
the,
weird, though.
he bricked both after he had the big steal.
IU
against-
game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think if he
Argentina,
makes if he makes that dunk in the IU game, the whole thing changes. It's just an and one, and it was would have blown the roof off the place, and I think it would have cut it to 5, or I don't remember exactly what, but that really would, I think, change the tenor of that game. And of course, it misses, and then they go down and start having crazy.
I know we were gonna pull this out from Purdue, but I know you're an analytics guy, president of the Sports Analytics Club. I don't know if that was thrown out there already, but
No, I haven't given him his due for that. Sorry.
but
Yeah.
president there. And so with that, I know you're a numbers guy. First off, I'm going to preface this by saying analytics don't hate mid-range shots for anybody out there. Analytics just hate inefficient shots, which oftentimes is mid-range shots. And that's what Purdue forces. And like, what were your thoughts with the IU of like this guy, Hochefino just drilling him? Like, is it just like, it just happens? Are you like, oh, we should change something, or you just keep forcing them? What are your kind of thoughts there?
Yeah, and I saw the shot quality on that and
Yeah.
the subsequent replies, so I have had some time to think about it. And I think that like when you with Edie out there, like you kind of have to concede something like defensively. Like you're either gonna he's either gonna be playing far away from the basket and he's gonna get in foul trouble, or you're gonna get a lot of layups, or like there's just no like great strategy you can have when like you have it's like he's a good defender, like a good team defender if he's played right. And I think that like the way they play him is probably pretty strong, but like it's also like you're going to get beat once in a while by an NBA guard who can hit mid-range shots, but at the same time Purdue's 26-5, like they've run this every game. 5 losses, like you take that if you're Purdue. Like
Oh, yeah.
if you ask Painter like how do you want to lose the game, like giving up layups, giving up mid-range shots, or giving up threes, like you take the mid-range shots all the time. And like yes, like once every 7 or 8 games, like someone's going to hit a lot of them, but that's unless you can defend every single shot, like you're a Houston or a Tennessee or something, which you can't do with Edie out there. Even like the rest of the guys aren't.
Yeah, the rest of the
there are a lot
guys,
of like the guards are not great. Like there's a lot of weak links that like I'd almost rather even if like teams have been getting a lot of open threes, it seems like against Purdue, that I'd rather them pull up and take those mid-range floaters. I mean, I think we saw Marquette. They were like the first team that really killed Purdue on those, and they won the game, so no one really thought anything of it. But Kolek was carving Purdue. Like he would just dribble the ball to the free throw line, either take a floater or kick it out for three, and so they could not guard for. And we thought something was wrong with Purdue because Marquette was like not what they were supposed to be back then. But yeah, it's just really hard to beat a team like Purdue. Like not the most efficient offense in the country anymore. They're still like probably top 10. It's really hard to beat a top 10 offense on mid-range shots. Like if you chart a game, a Purdue game versus another team, and say like which team do you think won with these shots, like sprinkled around the 3-point line and then 20 shots in the paint, or like here's a bunch of shots like scattered throughout like mid-range too, like most of the time the team with the threes and layups and free throws will win the game. And so I think that's a strategy that you gotta die behind if you can't guard everything.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it ties in a little bit to tomorrow's matchup because obviously we saw Rutgers get to that Zoom. Some people call it Zoom. We typically call it Chicago here on Feed the Post. House rules, so you got to call it Chicago on here. But I mean, with Mulcahy and getting deep position, I mean, I thought we're getting downhill, getting deep paint touches. I think that's what it's about. Can you limit them from getting as deep as Mulcahy got in that first game? And he got some of those wide. They went wide Chicago, and he would just turn it and get downhill. He's so big. I mean, there's really not – their guards are big. I mean, Mulcahy's 6'7". Spencer's probably a good 6'4". Simpson's a little smaller, but we are going to struggle a little bit tomorrow, and they will hit some tough shots because, again, to your point, Lawyer and Smith aren't exactly – those mid-range shots a lot of times maybe they're contested by Smith, but how big of a contest really is that, So
I mean, Rutgers is just not a good offense. Like that's the thing. Like they have advantages over Purdue, but they're not good. Like even they look decent in mid-range shots, but you look at their efficiency stats, they're
not good.
Probably bottom of the Power 6 conferences. Like they have scored 70 points in probably like 3 games in Big Ten season, if I had to guess.
Right. Yeah. And
it's just a matter of Edey not getting in foul trouble right at the beginning of the game, like last time.
Yeah.
And hoping Spencer doesn't just. That's the thing. Something that scares me is like when you play these teams that just cannot shoot, that like they have so much upside because they're still taking a lot of shots. You'd almost rather play a team with the same offensive efficiency, but is a really good 3-point shooting team because it's harder for them to like exceed their baseline because you can't. It's harder to shoot 60% from 3 as a 40% team than 50% is a 30% or something like that. Like it's just that much harder. So I think that's the thing that scares you a little bit with Rutgers is that Caleb McConnell goes 3 for 4 from 3, and that's just 5 more points they should be getting than they usually do. Like you can expect a few points from those, but yeah. So it's like Cliff hits a 3, and like then you're just like, okay, well this team wasn't supposed to be making threes on us, so that's unfortunate. So I mean, I think that's if Rutgers offense is what they usually are. Like I don't think Purdue has a problem tomorrow. But if they start hitting those threes, then you kind of get a little concerned that they can start beating you at other places too.
Yeah, I just quick fact checked. They've scored 74 times in Big Ten play. Okay. Iowa, Minnesota twice, and Nebraska.
The 4 best defenses in the conference.
There it is.
Yeah. Let's segue that. Yeah, let's segue that to Iowa because they obviously get upset today by a Ohio State team that has been playing better. I mean, really, since that Purdue game, it's been okay. I mean, they were 2-2 in the regular season, and then now winning 2 straight here, so 4-2 since that humiliation at Purdue. But I think they look a lot better. I just think they have a lot of guys who can make tough shots. Playing Iowa certainly helps that, and then they have a lineup they can go to down the stretch that really executes defensively. And that does not include Sensabaugh. Him and Meyer today really just stood out as just dogging it. I mean, just really did not care. They benched him late. He was just sitting by himself down there on the end of the bench. And it didn't look great, but he can just get you a bucket. And so then, they come down and just execute defensively, get stops on a good Iowa offense. And now they got Michigan State tomorrow, which I certainly think they're certainly capable of winning that game. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't be at this point.
KenPom has a Michigan State by 3. Like that's
Vegas had 3.5.
Yeah.
Do you think a healthy Ohio State team is really like worse than a healthy Iowa team?
No.
No, they're probably
Iowa cannot guard.
No. And it's worse than usual. I mean, it's usually bad most years.
Like
but
Ohio State can't guard either, but Iowa
Yeah.
is even worse. Like Iowa's a little bit more of extreme than Ohio State is. Like their offense is a bit better, but their defense is. Zed
I think-
keeping out is tough because they don't have another center besides Akpara, who's been playing pretty well. He kind of reminds me like of a young Cliff a little bit, just his athleticism and like kind of how he plays. But it's just, I mean, they were putting a point guard on Edie. It was kind of funny.
Yeah, the likely guy. I mean, he's
a big guard, but he's a guard.
he's basically their backup center at this point. I mean, that's
That
Is that what they're running like usually,
Yeah.
or is that just a
they
one?
ran that today. They had him on Rebracha, and he did a pretty good job. I mean, I like him. He just what's he going to do against Edie? You know? he did an okay job on Rebracha. He's better, I think, than the Eugene Brown guy they tried on Edie, because Eugene Brown is so thin. Now he steps out and sometimes hits threes, but yeah,
Mikey Kelly cannot shoot.
No,
I'm sure you've talked about it before, but have you ever seen anyone fouled in the first half, or would that have been the first time you've ever like? I don't know if it's ever happened before. They had that guy they threw in. I don't know if he was a walk on or what. He had 4 fouls in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, he was a
like
walk on.
the big white guy. He was a walk on. They let him out there with 4 fouls. Like he could have easily fouled that way 2 possessions. I think with him out there.
That was an absurd game. I mean that game really felt like just desperation by Holtman, and somehow they've turned it around. I mean that felt like the end when they were throwing in the walk on, and Likely was just. I mean it's just stupid. Like it wasn't even fun to watch because Edie just caught, turn, finish,
Score.
Yeah, I mean,
And I was in the student section, and so I was right there when Micah Kelly got put on, and he was so mad. Like he was doing everything he could to try and move Edie, and just couldn't do a thing. And he's strong. He's a big guard, but just could not do a thing. It was funny.
I feel like if you're gonna put a guard on Edie, at least put a guard that has like taken more than 5 threes this year. Like at least play a true 5 guard, like 5 out lineup. Like Likely is not gonna be Edie like in the perimeter. That it just doesn't even. You have no advantage with that at all.
Yeah, I think that may have been a personnel issue too. I mean, they're spread pretty thin. Although today they got really good contributions from Gale, the other freshman.
He looked good today.
He was awesome down the stretch. Hit a big 3. Got to the rim a couple times on. He drove somebody. I think one of the McCaffreys. He drove, got to the bucket. So he was good. I think they're going to be pretty scary moving forward. Joe and I were talking about that. I think losing Sensabaugh won't hurt him too badly. He's just one side of the ball. So
all right, let's play hypothetical.
Yeah.
Ohio State wins. Purdue wins. How concerned?
Not at all. Yeah, we just said it. What's the matchup? I mean, he's going to foul out Akpara immediately. The other thing they did was they pulled Akpara once he got his first, like trying to hide him. But once you do that, what do you do? I mean,
yeah, he's got to let him fall out. Yeah. I mean, Purdue won by 27, and it felt like Ohio State got like 10 extra points on like very contested mid-range shots from McNeil. That game did not feel like it should have been.
Yeah.
Like they were tough shot, and they had 8 points before Purdue took a shot. If I think that was what it was, or 6-0. Like there were so many things that went right for Ohio State in a 27-point loss.
Yeah, and even it was funny. I was just joking that Sensabaugh had to keep his draft stock up. Sensabaugh went off on the walk-ons down the stretch.
Low key. That was like some sweaty, like try hard gym stuff, like from Sensabaugh. It was embarrassing.
Yeah. That was pretty.
If I was an NBA scout and that was for some reason at that Ohio State Purdue game, I would take him off my list.
He and Jett Howard have some alarming flashes defensively and just in terms of effort, but I don't know. I mean, they can both put the ball in the bucket. We got score predictions for the game tomorrow, so that's interesting from Eric. Why don't we run through that real quick so we can just keep touching on the Big Ten tournament, even though it's sort of I like to get off on tangents. But Rutgers, Purdue, what do we got?
Purdue 71, Rutgers 60.
Okay.
I'll go with the. What was that?
Do we have a line on that yet?
I think it's 5.5.
Okay.
Feels about right.
I'd say the same thing as you, but subtract 5 points from each team.
It's probably safe. Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, I know Rutgers beat Purdue, but it's just hard for me to see like I feel like a lot of things have to go right for Rutgers to win.
And they did in the first game. Like they really did.
Well, it was a true road game, which is like 5 points right there. You could say that they earned that, but still, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean everything had to go right. I mean, we that critical mistake by Morton at the end really it shouldn't have even happened, but
they went 6 of 14 from 3. Like
there they go. I think they banked in one, I think. Cliff
Yeah.
hit one. Like
Yeah.
that's just like that's what I'm saying. Like it's just tough there.
Yeah, I'm okay. He was really good. They were 5 of 18 from 3 today, so you figure that.
And no mag this game too. Just
No
one
mag.
less
Okay.
body.
I want to talk about that. Is Mag like? I know Mag was important. Was Mag like this important that they just slid this much? Like, I felt like it was being over talked, but maybe I'm just like undervaluing what he brought, or just I guess an injury in general, because it's like what I would put him as their third or fourth most important player, and it just felt like I guess they have no depth.
They're
Yeah,
way more
yeah.
balanced. They're way more balanced than Purdue. Purdue loses their third best player, and it's like that kind of sucks. But Rutgers, like they rely like 1 to 5. I feel like. I mean, obviously you have the defense like from the top couple guys, but I mean, I don't know too much about Mag. Like supposedly he was a good defender, and he's a pretty efficient offensive player, which is like more than most of Rutgers' guys. So I don't know.
I think there's a big drop off between Mag and the next guy for them, Joe. I'd say that.
That's yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I don't think he's some sort of all American. He's been talked up to be him and Jalen Clark, which Jalen Clark's better than Watt Mag, but both those guys are. I mean,
Well, Jalen Clark's a legit defender.
Jalen Clark's a big loss, but like UCLA could still win a few games, and I think they should still be a 2. But
They had a worrisome game against Colorado today.
yeah, they did. They didn't.
They just randomly went hot at the end, and Colorado just bricked everything right at the stretch.
They didn't play well. I think tomorrow I'll go Purdue. I'll go Purdue 68, Rutgers 60, and even that. I mean, we're so good in the half-court defense. I don't know how they're going to really score, but now they're hitting threes. So
I am a little concerned about how our guards do against their physical, longer guys. But
yeah, we're going to have to. I mean, I don't think you can have Newman. I think you have to put Newman on Mulcahy probably to start if he's assuming he's starting.
Do you consider moving Newman to the 2 and taking Lawyer out, or is it just too late to mess with that?
We have been. Yeah, we have just said, man, we need the offense. I mean, it just
fair enough.
Not even necessarily shot making, but just freaking gravity. You know, I mean, just the ability to making decisions. I mean, it feels like Newman just can't attack a closeout. Newman can't use a ball screen ever. His handle, he and Morton just can't do a lot of things. They can hit, catch, and shoot threes, which is
Newman
great.
is a great post passer. Or passer to the post, not a post passer, but
no question.
He's very good at jumping and throwing it with one hand over the guy, which some guys don't understand for some reason.
No, he is, and I mean, shoot, you've been at Purdue for 4 years. You better be pretty good at that. I mean, the way they drill it.
True.
But what's the other game?
Just the Newman Morton. I think you can't start with it. You could close with it. I think.
Yeah.
If it's like if Lawyer's just completely taken out of the game and this is just completely in the mud, then sure, go Newman Morton, and you're just hoping Edie Smith pick and roll or Edie post up works, because that's it at that point.
I do think Newman and Jenkins need to get as many minutes, all like not on the court at the same time as each other as possible. Like if you're gonna play them 25 and 15 each, like they should. In my opinion, like it just makes so much more sense. Like they both kind of play the same way on offense. Like they kind of are vacuums a little bit. Jenkins got a little bit better, but it just makes more sense to have that ball movement out there, I feel like.
I agree with that. I think Jenkins definitely has more juice off the dribble, but that's about it. I think Ohio State, Michigan State, as we kind of go back to Eric's question here, I think come down to the wire. I'm gonna ride with Ohio State. Why not? I'm gonna ride with Ohio State. I'm gonna say 77-75 Ohio State.
No, I still think Michigan State. I think Michigan State's like 70-65. I think they do just enough.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take Michigan State too, like 75-68. They beat them. I mean, they have beat them twice this year. They killed them in Ohio State, but
yeah, Penn State went 3-0.
It's hard to beat a team 3 times, is what they say, I guess. So
apparently, yeah, that's been Hummel was kind of debunking that on the.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily true. But
Bragg said last time, because we brought it up last time on our live show, and Bragg said in college basketball, it's like it's whoever's won the first 2 wins the third one like 70% of the Senate. 70% of the time in the last like 20 years or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of bias there because usually the team that wins the first 2 is the better team anyways. So
yeah,
right. Yeah,
I wonder if you looked at point spread, if the team outperforms their spread in the third game or not.
That would be interesting.
My guess is no, but Penn State just beat Illinois for the 3rd time. So
yeah,
right, yeah.
Some more anecdotal evidence.
Yeah, it is, and they play. Who are they gonna play? Northwestern. I'm taking Penn State on that for sure.
Penn State Northwestern, yeah.
I don't know. Jeremy, weren't you at the Purdue Northwestern?
What Purdue Northwestern game? Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
fair
a it was a really fun first half. It was
Yeah.
really electric in there. A lot of Boiler fans.
Yeah. And then what did you think about the court storm? Because you were down there. I mean,
It's whatever. It seemed like it was a little dangerous. I didn't see the Gillis stuff until after I
okay,
got to the
I was
car,
gonna ask
but
you about that. Yeah.
I was able to get out of the arena before I got run over, so that was good.
That's good.
I mean, I don't know. Good for Northwestern. I'm from sort of the area, so I don't dislike Northwestern as much as I dislike the other Big Ten teams. I don't really root for any of the Big Ten teams. I like watching them lose, but Northwestern, I can get around to succeeding.
Yeah, and they'll have their hands full with Penn State. I'll take Penn State. 70 to 65. And
They just won in Evanston, right? Penn State. Winter drilled them.
Winter. Yeah.
Winter's been playing well lately.
Winter's good. Yeah. He's really good.
He's so quick. I didn't realize until these last few games. He's so quick. And maybe it's just because they didn't use him that way. But this is where I think Penn State's dangerous. I think the first 15, 20 games, they were dangerous because Jalen Pickett was so good. And I think they're more dangerous now because Jalen Pickett is so good, and Andrew Funk can hit 5 threes, and Seth Lundy can score 5 threes, and Winter and Clark can create when needed. Not that it all happened on the same day, but there's just at least more options, it seems like now.
Yeah, and Illinois had no way to guard him. I mean,
3 times in a row.
It's unbelievable. It's just the worst possible matchup for Illinois. I mean, truly, because if you want to have
it's the worst possible matchup for a lot of teams.
For a lot of teams, yeah, not Purdue, thankfully, but as we've seen, I think Meyer really just maybe this is the time for my Meyer rant, Joe, because he was just brutal. I mean, he was so bad. He kept pushing Winter out to half court defensively, and then would just kept getting it blown by. He was just lazy offensively. He was dribbling around with no real just had no real plan ever. He was just dribbling around, got it stripped. First time he should have had it stripped, it got knocked around. Hawkins got a bucket. Next time it was stripped. The other end, he lets up just total lazy closeout. Guy blows by him, gets a bucket. So, yeah, Matt Meyer, I mean, I know it's funny with the monster, but dude, isn't that a little concerning that he was taking that much pride in oh yeah, I just chugged 5 monsters. I was playing Call of Duty.
That's just
the way
in a real program, would that be celebrated, or would the coach be furious? I feel like it'd be the latter.
The way he said it made it seem like it was just a regular thing that he had. That was just the first time he got. He's like, oh yeah, I just had 5 monsters and then got caffeine poisoning. It's he must have had to have done that before to think that it would have been fine the next time. It wasn't I've never had a monster before and I just had 5 of them. It seemed like that was kind of a regular thing with him.
Yeah, I'll just say that it's a tough look, the performance he just put up. And I know you didn't get to watch Jeremy, but he was absolutely brutal. And
I think it's a little tough when I think that's kind of the thing with the transfers. I'm not going to denounce the transfer portal or anything, but when you have a program that relies so heavily on getting 1-year guys, it's hard to have that character evaluation. When you're just trying to get the best. Mayer is definitely a plus for Illinois, and he'd be a plus for Purdue, but it's tough to develop and find when you're just looking to find the best high major talent you can find.
Yeah, and one point on that, Joe, before you go ahead, because I just have one more thing about the portal. You bring that up. I'm not trying to denounce it or whatever, like you said, but I think there's got to be a better way, because and you're certainly right, Jeremy, about what you said, but I think it's just killing these low majors. I mean, I've already seen every good low major player whose season's over has already announced intention to enter the portal. It just sucks. How are these schools what are they supposed to do? I mean, you look at a guy I saw one guy from, I don't know, was it St. Francis, New York? He's averaging 22 and 10. Yeah, and why wouldn't he enter the portal? But because now he's going to some big school. But for them, it's what do you do? Because you have to recruit high school kids. You're going to keep getting.
It goes both ways. They get the bench guys like Jamal Mashburn at New Mexico. I mean, I don't know. It kind of goes both ways. I think it does hurt him more than it helps, but there are at least 5 Big Ten players who are going to lead their team in scoring next year at some random school.
Sure.
Remember that guy from that school or something like that?
So. For sure, they do get guys to come down.
What Podsmensky or whatever at
Santa Clara,
Santa Clara,
that's a good one. I mean, I think they're going to get better high school recruits because those guys will slip through the cracks. I mean, I've been told already by college guys, like, they're not even looking at freshmen this spring. They're not even going to go watch freshmen. They're just going to take portal guys, be on campus for portal visits, and then they'll evaluate in the summer. But yeah,
and that's where I think it's going. Is just like you're
but then
gonna
the good finds you have are going to get bumped up, are just going to leave and transfer out. You know.
Yeah, and I guess that's just where it stinks. Like I think low major is just probably going to have to change, and you probably take more shots on high school guys now, knowing that there's going to be less offers for them from if you're in the low major, you're taking more mid major guys, and then knowing that they're going to leave in a year or two.
It sucks too because it's the same with the coaches too. If the coaches succeed, they're gone. So it's tough as a fan because if you're a fan of a team for 3 years, like you're probably one of the few people in that program that has been there for 3 years. Like I'm sure a lot of the staff is turned over, a lot of the players are gone.
Right.
Just totally new looks every year. And the coaches, like they need to win each individual year. They're not trying. You can't develop as a mid-major coach because, I mean, it's the same thing. You're trying to get the best job you can.
Yeah, and
that's Lutz. That's gonna be Lutz. He's gonna have offers sometime soon.
For sure.
So it's tough to be that hard in the portal when the coaches have been doing the same thing for just as long.
For sure. And I get that piece of it, and I get it. I mean, Shaheen Holloway, beats us, and then now it's Seton Hall just automatically. And it's so weird that it's based on the variance of the tournament.
Yeah,
it's so stupid, but it is
conference tournaments and NCAA tournaments.
Yeah, if you go on a 6-game run, like now you're gonna potentially start making millions more dollars than you previously did. So it's kind of weird, but it is just what the sport is.
Exactly. Give me the coach in the Big Sky with the most wins over the last 6 years instead of whoever they sent to the tournament this year.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but that's why we love college basketball. Just brief check-in here, this Maryland game. It's 31-24, Maryland at the half.
I should probably give my Northwestern prediction. I got Northwestern, or I got Penn State, 70 – no, Penn State 68, Northwestern 61.
Okay. And we will wait to find out. Maryland should be Maryland IU, but if they hold on here, they're only up 7, but there's
I'm rooting for Minnesota so hard. I think it'd be hilarious.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I was thinking Rutgers. I mean, I thought Nebraska was going to win for sure, but obviously Minnesota's. I mean, the Jamison Battle fouls out of that game with like 7 minutes to go.
9
minutes to go,
and then Johnson gets teed up immediately.
Yeah, and that's interesting.
That was such a bad tech. You cannot get teed up there.
Yeah,
it was bad.
You're basically telling Jamison Battle, like, I don't want you to play another minute for me again. Like, you're really trying to lose that game with that. Battle was holding him back too. He's like, please do not. Like, he wanted to play again. I mean, I don't know what Battle. I mean, he's only a junior, so maybe he comes back. But is he coming back? I don't know.
I saw. No, he's gonna transfer somewhere big, right? Like he's good.
He's a Boilermaker.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
I don't even know. He's not even that good.
I don't even know.
He's good because he's on Minnesota. He's like, I don't know.
I like him, but yeah, he would be a role player else at a big time program. I think I like Ben Johnson though. I'll say that I kind of liked him. I liked his honesty in the post game. He talked about how bad of a tech it was, and then the other thing he did was like they really almost lost the game by by screwing up that end of game situation where they let Tominaga get a really good look from half court and almost blew it. So I mean they were lucky. I don't know. Patino had that thing kind of rolling there, and now it's just been so bad. I mean, the first year he just took all low major transfers, and now it's sort of like a little more talent. But they just lost their 5-star guy. They had a 5-star commit, Dennis Evans, who's now I think going to go to Louisville. So I don't know. It's too bad. I kind of wish that program was good.
They're so thin right now too. They have like 5 or 7 guys they play. It's like everyone's hurt. I was looking at the other day. Look at their 21 team or whatever, or 2020 team. They got like 4 guys who are really doing well at other schools. Kalsher, Carr, Robbins, and Mashburn on New Mexico. Those are 4 guys who are literally the best players, or like one of the best 2 players in their teams for mostly good teams.
Daniel Tour too in the NBA, or I don't know if he's G League at this point, but
that's a squad right there.
Yeah, it is. This guy
can go 8-12.
Yeah, I don't. The Big Ten's a grind, man.
That's true.
Andy chiming in wants a Purdue IU rematch in the Big Ten.
I think it happens.
I do too.
I predicted that. But
That's a crazy what if scenario. Like Indiana beats Purdue 3 times. Like, would you take Indiana beating Purdue 3 times if it means that blah 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 happens at the beginning of the year? Like you're told that at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Seems like this is the scenario that's playing out. Yeah, Purdue wins the Big Ten title and they make the Elite Eight, but Indiana beats them 3 times. Like, do you take it or not? Sounds
Oof.
like someone said yes.
Yeah.
Final Four, yeah, just so everybody can get off Painter's back.
We lose to Indiana for the 4th time.
That would.
Could you imagine?
No.
That would be
That would be
nuts.
the worst case scenario.
That would be insane. That would actually be insane.
That would, yeah, like that would just be. Purdue fans couldn't say anything for ever. It feels like.
Not a good matchup for this year's Purdue team. But at the same time, if Hood-Schifino just hits a few less middies.
Remember when Hood-Schifino he died on the court and then came back and didn't even get subbed out? That was crazy. In the first game.
Yeah.
I literally thought he was out for the season. He was just lying there. Like I saw thoughts and prayers on my Twitter for him, and he they went to a commercial and he came back and he was on the court. Like what the heck? Like what just happened?
That was Terrence Shannon today. I guess he said you couldn't watch, but he got his ankle landed on, laid on defense for the rest of the possession, and then the timeout was called, and then he came back. And I'm not saying he was probably in a lot of pain. He just had a 200-something pound dude land on his ankle, but it's just oh, you're good, I guess. I guess once the adrenaline kicks in again or whatever.
Yeah, I think IU will make pretty quick work of Maryland. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. I think that's kind of an IU win there, and I don't know.
I think it's more of a toss up than you're giving credit for. I think Maryland can actually matches up okay with them. I think Indiana's a better team, and I think they'll probably be favored. But
yeah,
it depends on if this road thing for Maryland stays true, and I don't know if Minnesota counts as testing that. If they're just legitimately bad away, then IU probably does. But IU's what? Let me pull up their last few games. They've sneakily struggled a bit, right? As the last few. They've split. They've gone 3-3 in the past 6. Oh yeah, okay. They got smoked by Iowa. I forgot about that, and lost at MSU. But that one's in a weird spot in general.
Yeah.
Okay. But I guess there's also because Trace is slowed down. Slowed down is still one of the top 5 college players. Maybe he has legs under him again. But if he doesn't, if he's still kind of gassed, then I'd see Maryland taking it to him then at that point.
Teams need to stop doubling him. I think if you can sort of hold him in check, even giving up 60% from the field, I think you're much better off. He's such a good passer now, and it seems like the doubles are just so weak too. They're just they don't even wait for him to dribble. It just seems like they're just asking for him to hit Miller Cop for a 3 every single time, especially with Purdue with Edey. I know Edey's slower than him.
Yeah.
But it's what you have to at least make Trace beat you. If he scores 0 points in the first half, you can stop doubling for a little bit. Make him score.
Yeah, and
maybe he's not in foul trouble. You can just chill out for a little bit. You don't need to double with a guard.
And if Trace is going 1-on-1 with Edey in the post, please don't dig down off a shooter. That was so dumb by Morton, where Trace Edey has. I can't remember the last time Trace scored over Edey. Legit, I don't know if that happened this year. I mean, straight up on just a left hook. I mean, he airballed one. Certainly didn't happen in the second game, just on a straight post up. Obviously, there's other ways he can score. But, Morton digging down off shooters. It's just dude, stop. What are you doing? I mean, it didn't make any sense. But I think I'd probably pick Purdue to beat him a third time or to beat him for the first time in the third game. I don't know if that would be the right pick or what, but I think I'd probably have to take that. But I don't know. If Purdue gets Michigan State, I think they could be in some trouble there. I don't know.
I think still feel pretty good. I guess I don't know. If they double Edey,
they've been shooting the hell out of it. MSU's been shooting the hell out of it though.
And they can throw.
Hall's been playing well. Hauser's been playing well.
Yeah.
Hall didn't play the first time, right? But he played the second time against us, or did he?
Yeah.
And he didn't play well the second game either.
No.
Nobody really did.
They didn't
really.
Where,
if they go Hall, Hauser, Sissoko, or whatever, that's a tougher.
I've never seen a player less involved in an offense than Sissoko when they play against Purdue. Does he touch the ball? He literally just there to guard Edey and hopefully not foul. They just run 4-on-5. It seems like
he just sets ball screens and then they snake it, and Walker tries to get a midi and whatever. Maybe they throw him a lob or two occasionally if Edey cheats, but Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the way they shoot it, their guard play is definitely scary. I mean, it's more scary than probably Ohio State and probably a couple other teams. I mean, I think we'd handle Penn State. I think pretty good about Northwestern, although their toughness. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know if we want to. What do you think about that, Jeremy? About the whole like, do you want to win the Big Ten tournament if it's helping March or whatever? I mean, there's no real data behind it that we have in front of us, but it is kind of interesting to think about.
Yeah, it depends on the seeds, I think. I think if Purdue's locked into either being the two that's playing in the South or a one seed, I think no matter if they lose to as long as they beat Rutgers, I think if you lose to Michigan State, I still think
Yeah.
you're a top 5 team. And at that point, I think you can stomach a loss to Michigan State. I know like Michigan State in March kind of like annoying losing to Izzo in that situation, but
Sure.
I mean you don't obviously don't want to lose to IU in the Big Ten championship. That you almost would rather just lose to Michigan State before then, but yeah, I think if you can get by Rutgers tomorrow, I think the rest of it's kind of just a bonus.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind the extra day of rest.
There is a ton of narrative though, a ton of narrative ball around Purdue just like being a bad basketball team lately, which is like there still have been at worst a top 15 team over like since January 1st, which I don't
Yeah.
really get.
Our
And
friends,
if anything, Duke and Zaga and Marquette have been like really good lately. Like the narrative at the beginning is, oh, Purdue's not good, Duke and Gonzaga are not good, and West Virginia's not good. Those are four top 20 10 pound teams right there now. So better than anyone we played in the Big Ten. I think those are the 4 best teams we played this year.
Yeah, and it gets tough, man. February is the freaking dog days of college basketball. I mean, we had Ohio State practice at the high school I coach at before the Purdue game, and they just looked like a tired team, man. I mean, it's just you couldn't imagine like the things they were doing. They did a 35-minute what's it called, soft tissue like exercise. The whole practice started with like a 45-minute soft tissue thing where they're just listening to their strength coach like bark at them. And I'm just thinking, God, these guys are like they had just come in off of a 20-point loss at Iowa. And I'm just thinking, you guys just rolled in, got right off the plane, went to a local high school, and your strength coach is screaming at you while you do soft tissue for 45 minutes. I'm thinking, man, this sucks. I mean, and so I think that's what people maybe sometimes miss of like, you got to go on the road. You know, it's been a long freaking season. So I don't really put a ton of stock into that. I will say our friends that we've had Greg Waddell and Carter Elliott on a few times. They've been pretty harsh. Greg on the field of 68 has been pretty harsh. So I mean, it's okay. It is what it is. We gotta prove them wrong, I guess.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's like it's proven so much or proven because all the Sweet 16 and all that. But there's no Final Four to back it up, so it's just like an easy like, oh yeah, Purdue's not good because history's like, yeah, they won't make a Final Four, but not that history should be too relevant. But
would you rather be a 2 seed in the East with UConn as your 4, or a 1 seed in the East with UConn as your 4, or the top 2 seed with Alabama as your 1?
Oh, that's interesting.
I don't want to play UConn in Madison Square Garden. That's just an obvious. I mean, we would be underdogs in that game.
Yeah,
I think straight up Vegas has like UConn by 1.5 there.
Yep. That's a good question.
I know nothing is guaranteed. Like we see every year, like nothing happens the way you expect. I'm sure we get UConn, and UConn's the draw, and we play the 13 seed in the Sweet 16 from that region because basketball. But
yeah, it almost
just.
Go ahead, Joe.
I would take the UConn. Or yeah, I would take.
It's not guaranteed, is a thing
because it's not guaranteed, and if it, I mean, I guess it's not guaranteed that Alabama, but Alabama scares me. Like I don't know what I mean, nobody can really. We're talking purely basketball here. Like nobody can really stop Brandon Miller, and like I don't know what Purdue.
No one on or off the court can stop Brandon Miller. I guess
that is very true. Alabama has proven that pretty consistently.
I don't know. I don't think they're like if I was making a future bet, I wouldn't touch them. I think there's too
they have
much.
not been playing their best basketball lately.
No.
As we just announced the whole narrative with Purdue. Alabama's been playing terribly.
Yeah. No kidding.
Frauds.
Yeah, I mean,
the SEC sucks.
Yeah.
No one talks about that. Everyone's like, oh, Big Ten's terrible. Like, oh, okay. Like, who is like Alabama's best conference win this year?
Yeah, I know.
Arkansas? It's Arkansas. It's at Arkansas.
They didn't beat A&M on the at home, did they?
That's the difference between the Big Ten.
A&M, at Tennessee, at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
That's the difference between the Big Ten and the SEC is that the Big Ten does not get to play LSU, Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina, like every other. Like, you get that, like, one every 2 weeks you're playing a basic, not I wouldn't say a bye game, but there are really bad teams in that conference. There's one really bad team in the Big Ten.
the teams in the Big Ten just don't roll over and die. I mean, they're physical, they're hard to play. Like other than Minnesota, who definitely did do just that when we played them. I mean, everyone else,
Vanderbilt went 11-7 in the
right?
SEC. I know Vanderbilt's like good this year, but like they won 11-7 in the SEC.
Yeah,
They are like a 13 seed in the Big Ten tournament.
I think the 2-1 thing, like looking at Lenardi, what he had when he had us as a 2, and like A&M was our 7. I wouldn't love that particularly. But I don't know. I think it'd be kind of even. I think I wouldn't really mind the 2 seed thing, honestly, but I do kind of want a 1 and just hopefully UConn's a 3 or they're just out of our region. But it is the East, so it would make sense.
It's an interesting
Cobra.
stat from Cobra. Cobra's a
Cobra,
good name with it.
I love your stuff on Twitter and on the
Yeah,
and
Cobra,
on the,
you're
for,
always
on the
great.
forums too. He's always on the forums with talking logic to people. I respect it.
Yeah, thanks for checking in, Cobra. We haven't seen him before, so that's cool that he's watching. Probably only because Jeremy's in here, but we appreciate it.
We take it. But okay, can we talk quickly about the Big Ten narrative in March? Like it's like, would it be better to stop this narrative if the Big Ten sent like 5 teams and like 2 of them made the Sweet 16 instead of having
the Pac-12? You mean the Pac-12?
Yeah, exactly. Pac-12 they're gonna barely be a 3-bid league, and UCLA and Arizona can perform really well, so nobody thinks that down of them. But the Big Ten Big Ten had 12 teams out of 14 finish almost a 500 or above record in conference play. Like,
yeah, and people
sending so many teams, it's just like more are going to lose. And I know there hasn't been a champion, so there is some validity to it. But also, like, if you send 5 teams, you don't have as many losses then.
Somebody compared the Big Ten to the Mountain West today on Ant Wright's replies, and it's just so stupid. Like they've had. The Big Ten's had like 4 Final Four appearances in the last decade or something. It's not like we've been just brutal.
Yeah.
I mean,
that Wisconsin team was nasty from like 2015.
Yeah, they were good. And that Michigan team we talked about a little bit, Joe, before Jeremy got on with Mike Smith and all those guys. Yeah, they were pretty good. So I don't know. I mean, I do think there's something to the fact that what I was talking about, like the dog days or whatever, are harder in the Big Ten because it's more physical, less stuff gets called, you get beat up on. I do think that they still value the importance of the 5-man or at least the 5-man who can post up. So I don't know. I just think it's random and matchup based, and I'll really never be able to be talked out of that stance. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think it's so funny this year because I think I've seen like a very reasonable argument and also a bunch of unreasonable arguments for like why every team is not going to make the second weekend. It's so open this year.
Yeah.
Like I think every team has like Houston plays in the Mickey Mouse Conference, UCLA lost Jalen Clark and they play in the Mickey Mouse Conference. Alabama hasn't been playing well. Brandon Miller has stuff. SEC is not good. UConn loses by 30 once every 2 weeks now. Apparently, like, it's just like I feel like every team has like an obvious reason why they're not going to make the Sweet 16, and yet 16 teams are going to make the Sweet 16, and then those 16 teams are gonna be like, oh, well, what did we miss in them 2 weeks ago? They'll be pointing to stuff like, oh, they have veteran guards. Oh, they have a power forward that can stretch the floor. Like it's so like survivorship. Like here's who made it, and let's figure out why they made it. Than it is anyone can say beforehand, like why they made it because they're in the Big Ten or because they're whatever.
Yeah.
Like there's no good reason.
When in reality, like the teams that make it, it's like, oh, this team shot 48% from 3 for these 2 games, and their opponent shot 22%, and that's why they made the Sweet 16. Like, I feel like stuff like that's just what March Madness is, and it's amazing to watch. It's just all variance for the most part.
Exactly.
You can set yourself up, but it's just variance. It really
There's
is.
a good comic from a baseball writer. Let me try and find it real quick. It's from Tom Tango. He's like a baseball statistician. And his thing is, what is it? Let me try and find it real quick. Sorry.
No, you're good. We can bring up Kansas. Kansas is probably the team I'm most confident in to make the second weekend.
Sure. Yeah,
but even then, or Gonzaga, low key.
Don't let Braggs hear that.
Yeah. This is the year Gonzaga's going to win because they're like kind of. I mean, they've played really well lately, so they're not as slept on. But like, I think they had a couple losses and.
I think Haslam has them up to number 2, I think.
Oh, really?
Okay, yeah.
They're 7, Ken Palm.
Yeah, they're climbing for sure.
Okay, here it is. I won't show you the picture of it, but it's these 2 stick figures who are like sitting in a desk, and so one of them says, a weighted random number generator. A weighted random number generator just produced a new batch of numbers, and the other one goes, "Let's use them to build narratives," and it says all sports commentary ever, which is like so true. Like it's just like there's no reason like Purdue couldn't win the tournament, but there's also like Purdue could lose to a 15 seed in the first round, and whatever happened, someone's gonna find a reason for why it happened. But it's the same team, it's the same. Ethan Moore has the same probability of making a 3-point shot as he did. Like it's just a matter of if it goes in or not.
Yeah, no, it's a good point.
I know it's tough to hear. As like I know you guys are big basketball coaches and like loved watching the X's and O's, but like it's so probabilistic. Like there's so many things that can happen that it's just.
No, I know. I get it.
That's why I think you need both. You gotta. I think there's an importance of understanding physically and X's and O's. What's going on.
I'm not gonna say that it's not important, but yeah, no, it's just kind of funny the way people analyze it.
Yeah, the numbers
are just so random. Yeah. Like, even besides the numbers, it's just so random, just from like a results standpoint. It's just you just love to look at them after the fact.
I mean, Northwestern's terrible in close games last year, and they're great in them this year. And now Chris Collins wins Big Ten Player or Coach of the Year.
He's going to get an extension, and he's going to get fired in 3 years.
Yeah,
no, it is crazy.
Remember 2023 when Chris Collins won Coach of the Year for the Big Ten?
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to the you win 3 games, 5 games in March, and now you're making millions. It's just like 3 bounces go your way or not, and you're literally out of a job or not. Like
exactly.
Yeah, we were getting a multi-million-dollar extension, which is the crazy part about the business. But it is fun. It's fun to watch. I'm glad we have a coach who understands a lot of the things you just said, Jeremy, and tries to be process-based. I mean, I like that he talks about that. I like that he doesn't get too high with the wins or low with the loss. I think that's important as a coach, because you can't. If you start thinking you're this great team because you won, a close game on a half-court shot, now, I think you can really
I remember that he said it after we beat Nebraska in overtime on the road. Like, we shouldn't have won that game, and we shouldn't have won that game. And we haven't been playing that well since then, but that game should be included in that. Like, they shouldn't have won that game.
Right, and that could easily be a game in March where all of a sudden we're up 3, we're getting press. Braden Smith throws the ball away and they call a foul and we escape, and now Painter's made the Final Four. It could be that kind of thing. So let's hope that happens.
Hopefully sometime we get the luck. Just once.
All right. I gotta head out, guys.
All right.
But thank you guys for having me on. This is great. Great talking.
Yeah, for sure.
Basketball.
Yeah, it's been awesome, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you.
All right. See you guys.
See ya. All right. So that was Jeremy Frank. Good conversation with him. Just so everybody knows, he is at MLB Random Stats on Twitter. He's just graduated from Purdue, so a Boilermaker alum, and now working with the Chicago Cubs in their analytics department. You should check out his Twitter if you're at all a baseball fan. He's got a ton of great baseball content. He's just a I think a casual fan of tournament, not casual in the bad sense, but just that's not his main focus is college basketball, but he certainly gave us some good numbers stuff there. Yeah, I mean, we certainly debunked some myths there, and so hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Real quick PSA, we will have just our schedule for the next week because I don't know how much longer here we'll go, Joe, but I'll just let them know. Yeah. Our schedule for the next week will be at least on Feed the Post. Bragg, so obviously we will have our stuff with Boilers in the Stands. But our schedule for the next week was we will probably have 2 podcasts, one recapping the Big Ten tournament and potentially in totality, including Purdue, as well as the tournament draw, NCAA tournament draw. And then we'll have a second for both teams. And then we'll have a second podcast kind of specifically diving in on Purdue. And then for the second half of that, Braden Smith's father, Dustin Smith, he'll be jumping on with us. And that'll be a good interview for you guys. He also coaches Jack Benner, who's committed to Purdue in the class of 2024. So looking forward to have Braden's dad on with us. He's a good guy, good friend of mine. So we're looking forward to having him on next week as well. So stay tuned for that. And Joe, we can dive in any topics you want here. We can wrap it up. I don't know. I don't care either way. But
I will say the podcast, like usually we've been doing 45 to an hour, just like thinking about what we're going to talk about. I wouldn't be shocked for an hour and a half to 2 on either of them, to be honest. If you want content for 3 days where you're just kind of waiting for basketball, we will definitely have you. I'm sure we'll do a live show on Bragg's or Boilers in the Stands. I know we're planning on doing like a live bracket reveal type show. So excited for all that. Quick update. Maryland's up 43-32, 14 minutes left in the second half. just been peeking, so I haven't really been able to watch per se. Whenever I do look at it, it's kind of reached just getting what he wants inside, it seems like. So I don't think I'm not saying this one's over, but I don't know if Minnesota's going to have the juice. So maybe we can, give a prediction for Maryland IU.
Yeah, I like IU maybe closer than I initially thought. You guys kind of talked me out of that. I think Maryland will keep it close, but I'll take IU.
Yeah, I'll take. Yeah. I wish I knew which Hood Shafino showed up.
Yeah, no, but you
That'd be
don't.
nice.
You
Yeah.
don't.
I'll take. I really think that they're gonna Trace is gonna be fresh. I'll take IU by 4.
Okay.
I do think it's gonna be pretty close, but I think IU's is just better.
Okay. Yeah, Jeff Parks. I think we may be planning on doing that. So you guys can be on the lookout for that coming up here once we get the brackets out. If you guys have any questions for us in the chat, fire them away, and we'll answer them here about Purdue, the Big Ten, whatever the case may be. Let's go like 15 more minutes, Joe, and maybe if they have chat questions, we can answer those. If not, that's fine too. But we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. I hope you enjoyed the talk with Jeremy. He's got an analytical mind, and so brings some interesting perspectives to the show. What do you order? Mad mushroom. Okay, that's a good one. Ooh. I'm plain cheese person, which is so boring, but it is what I do. I go on Mondays. I get the $6.99 14-incher Monday special deal. Put my promo code BITS and knock that down a little bit further to 6 or 7 or whatever, and it comes out. So you get 14-inch for $6 or $7. Not bad, man. It's not bad at all.
There's 2. And next week it's just going to be me at Purdue. I'm going to be staying here just cranking out some content in that, but so I do plan on getting Mad Mush at least once or twice. If it's me and a couple others, we're getting 2. One is pepperoni, just pepperoni everywhere, and then the other is the barbecue chicken. And anybody that hasn't had it, it's actually really good from Mad Mush. Highly recommend the barbecue chicken pizza. It's fire.
Yeah, I may have to branch out a little bit. Well, it's cheap, and I don't know. I've just always gotten it, so I keep getting it. I won't eat other kinds. That's what I tend to order for some reason.
I was a cheese guy literally my entire life growing up until like a year. Even now, like I'll still eat it. But I don't hate on you for it. I see the vision.
I appreciate that. This from Brian McDowell. What do you see as the matchup Purdue should try to exploit against Rutgers?
That's an interest. I don't think I've thought about that, because right, you think of Rutgers and you think of this elite defense. Like, what is it? You try to switch Spencer, but who are you switching Spencer onto?
No, that's not going to happen with our personnel. I don't think. I do think one of the things I would like to do is get Braden Smith out and running, whether that's off just, and we got a little bit lucky in that Illinois game in that we got some good bounces that allowed Braden to get out and go. So there's no real formula to saying, oh yeah, get some good bounces. But I do think any chance Braden gets where it's not just they don't have a set defense, don't let them set that defense, and this is a game, one of the rare times where I would advocate for Purdue trying to speed the game up a little bit, because I think Purdue has the players to do so. I don't necessarily want them to just go crazy, but I think anytime Braden has the ball in his hands, and only Braden, and has a chance to run, whether it's a 3-on-3, a 4-on-3, a 3-on-2, whatever, like go, don't pull it out and set up. Now they won't do that. They will pull the ball out and get a set, something from Johnson's whiteboard. But I do think that would be a good way to kind of just take yourself out of getting into the Rutgers trap of they're setting their defense. You've only got 30 seconds. Good luck,
Yeah, I was looking up Synergy just to see. They're good in transition.
They're elite. Of course they are.
Really are. But, that's that, and that's the question is, what can you try to exploit? Like, you maybe try to get a Morey in foul trouble early. Just go to Edie, and you just basically say, Edie, just put him up. You hope if you can get a Morey in foul trouble, now I trust Edie with, they'll throw Woolfolk, they'll throw Palmquist a bit at him.
Sure.
And now doubles are coming, and it's can you hit threes? And honestly, that's pretty much it's like a flow diagram for me at this point of Purdue. And it all eventually leads to, does Purdue make threes? Yes, win. No, lose. Just for the most part, it is. But I would say that, and then got to limit turnovers. You just can't let you like if you get Rutgers in the half court on defense or when they're on offense, and you're much, much better. And then like we talked about earlier, you just hope that Rutgers doesn't get going from mid range and stuff. Like if McConnell goes 6 of 8 from twos and Mulcahy hits 3 threes, like I don't know what you're supposed to do at that point.
Yeah, and I think I just looked it up on Bart Torvik. They are, since Mag went down, they are 28th in defensive efficiency and 240th in offensive efficiency. So,
Their offense is so
bad. It's so brutal. And if we can just, Jeremy said, Edey not getting in foul trouble will be massive early on. Just keep him in there. Derek's concerned a little bit about Edey's footwork. I think his footwork's very good, Derek. I would say that Illinois game got really – they just really doubled him hard. I mean, maybe you could tell me if you saw something different, Derek. My thought was they sent the house at him, and then with when they're not going to enforce the cylinder rule, it gets hard. Yeah. But I mean, I don't know if you saw something different, Joe. That was my take. Maybe I'm being a little too optimistic on that, but
I think Illinois had a good game plan, and if teams can do that, then it is tough for Edey to maneuver at his size at some points.
Sure.
I'm gonna just fall back in general of I trust his footwork in general. But this could be a valid point. Like I don't know if specifically if I can think of that game and then something stands out, but that'll be something I look for tomorrow. Like if he's moving well in the post, you got to against Amori. He's so long and athletic that he can block shots from multiple angles. So be an interesting thing. I definitely will keep an eye out on.
Yeah, and I do think this game will be. That would be I think this is a really good opportunity. I'm kind of glad we're playing Rutgers because I think it's a great opportunity to firstly exercise some demons, but also it's the perfect team to beat to get these guys feeling good about themselves because it's going to be a hard fought game. It's not going to be pretty. You're not going to feel good after. They're going to wake up Saturday morning, assuming they win, and they're going to have to play a game where they don't feel great because Rutgers beats them up. But if this team can beat Rutgers, one of the 5 teams who's beat them this year, 4 teams, sorry, because IU beat us twice. I think that's big. I maybe I'm buying in too much to the kind of confidence morale thing, but as a coach, I think that's real. I think when you can see teams, or when your players can kind of get that monkey off their back a little bit. The players know how good Peichel's been against Painter in the last 5 years. And they know that stuff. They know how good Rutgers has been. They've had their number. All of them saw the buzzer beater last year. And then again this year with Spencer. So yeah, I think it's the perfect team to play. It's actually a better, I think, opportunity than Michigan for that reason. And then of course the fact that it's going to force you to play a style that you're not going to be comfortable against. And so if you can overcome that and get the win, it's a great feeling,
Yeah, and it's a style that nobody's quite Rutgers, right? Like Rutgers is elite on defense. But it's a style you're going to play these ACC schools, these SEC schools of just more wings, athletic dudes, maybe better offense. But on the other end, it's a lot of that's what Purdue has struggled with when facing opposing defenses. It's just this ultimate length. You saw it last year in the tourney. You've seen it this year some. And so, if they can get a win, like you said, it just builds some confidence of, all right, we can kind of beat this type of team. I would have been fine either way with Michigan or Rutgers. I would have been confident against either. But I think it is good to get Rutgers. You hopefully can just get a win and then get some confidence. And it should be a good game. A 12 Eastern tip, so there is that thing. 11 Central for anybody there. But okay, we've seen a couple. I think we've seen a couple comments of just Edey going quick, Edey drop stepping quick right away and stuff. And I think there's some validity, but also and it's been kind of said all year. What's your kind of take on he brings up attack the rim quickly after post feed, just attack. And I think there's definitely times. I just don't think that it can be an every time thing.
No, because I don't think you want to get him out of rhythm. I mean, we've seen all these features. I'm sure everyone in here's read the stories and watched the videos about Zach, and it's clear he's a very particular person. Yeah. His routine and his just overall personality is is such that he needs to be in rhythm. And so I think that's a part of it. I actually think it's crazy. I think his personality has something to do with why he doesn't do that. I really do. I think he feels he needs to be comfortable to shoot it. That's why I don't think he shoots a lot of drop steps or does a lot of drop steps, because that's a little bit of an uncomfortable move. If you think about it, at 7'4", trying to flip your hips like that, even though maybe it looks wide open on the television, like that's not a real comfortable move. Go out in your driveway and try that drop step. Take a dribble to your right and then, kind of try and drop step it back. It's kind of a tough move, although it looks fairly easy when he does it because he just hits on it every time. But yeah, I think there's something to that. I think there's also something to the fact that he struggles against, who said it? Derek. I think without a true big man can hurt him. I mean, we saw St. Peter's really, really hurt him with that, right? Like they got him all out of whack with their smaller guys crashing down, blocking the shot from behind. Now, this is a different Edey. There's no question about it. But yeah, I think he wants to be patient. He's naturally inclined to be patient. And so, yeah, I think there's definitely some times where he should go quicker. But I also think, he's doing a pretty darn good job. So,
yeah. No, I agree. I think you can mix it in. I don't think it could be in every time, but I would like to see it sometimes. That's an interest. I hadn't thought about that, of just how difficult it must be for him to make the drop step, because it has looked like it's been there some, but I think
I'm not trying to let him off the hook. Like if he should do it, he should do it, But again, I do think there's something to that. So
okay, there's Willie Dean's talking about like these dishes. Like, is there a segment Purdue put out that I missed or what?
Yeah? So there was an article. A really good article by a paper in Butler, PA, about Morton's, Morton and Edey's friendship, basically, and it was basically talking about Edey. Morton was like, "Yeah, the one thing he never cleans up, he never does the dishes," and then Edey said something defective. Gosh, what did he say? I can't remember. Chat, you can maybe remind me, but Edey like threw something back at him, and so it was a great article. You should check it out. It's Morton and. Just probably type in Ethan Morton, Zach Edey, and it'll pop up. It was either today or yesterday that I saw it. So,
okay, yeah, no, I'll definitely go check that out then.
Yeah, good one.
Quick score update: 51-41 Maryland. Minnesota's battling. Like if they could hit a couple jumpers, they would actually be in it. But that's where we're at there.
He eats Edey's leftovers. That's it. He steals Edey's leftovers. That's a good.
There
call.
It is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything, or just quickly? This was from way back start. This one, the wide Chicago, well, why not?
Yeah, get it out.
And I assume we're talking about the same. You're just talking about like when it's on the wing, right? And
just the angle of it. Yeah, yeah.
So usually, let's see. There we go. Guess we're bringing it out this time. There it is. Yep. Usually, like the Chicago, you have Edey here with the ball, and this is Lawyer, and then you have Gillis down screening, and it's kind of up in here. This is the Chicago that Purdue runs a ton. As I look for my eraser, there it is. But the wide is sometimes that's what they usually run up the gut. I call it up the guts. There's probably different terminology.
Usually just gut.
Yeah, gut. This wide is where it's more like here, and so, somebody's coming more out here, and maybe they do turn the corner, but sometimes they'll just kind of take it and bring it out here. So wide is just this like, I don't know how this wide like he's out wide and then comes back in, and it's not as much just gut. That'd be am I accurate in that? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, that's how I would interpret it. I think the wide action can be good. A lot of times when you have a 5-out offense and you just want to start it off with a pin down, like if you have a 5-out offense, your 1 brings it up on one side of the floor, and you have a 5 on the opposite slot wing area, and then a 1 on the opposite corner. Like you want to start your offense with that 5 pinning down to the 1, and then you can have options off that. So if you want to run Chicago off that, you can. I do think sometimes they would start in the corner on that. And it'd be like the angle. It's just the angle of it. Like it's not really a big deal. It's just what they were not running the gut thing at all. The gut thing is when Edey gets it and then Lawyer comes up from the mid, from underneath the rim and then turns that corner and kind of makes it tighter. So Purdue likes to do it that way. Other teams do differently. Mulcahy was so good in that first game, just getting us in jail and got his own rebound on the 1. And so it's tough to guard, man. That's why most teams are running it. But Yeah, no, if you don't have anything else, I'm good to wrap it up. I think this was good. So
Yeah, maybe one last call out if anybody has any questions or anything. But yeah, other than that, no, think we're good. I watched a ton of basketball today, so I'm happy. I'm gonna do it again tomorrow. We'll have our live show sometime tomorrow before the third game starts of the Big Ten, probably.
Yeah.
Craig and Braggs will be there live, so definitely check them out on Twitter. I'm sure they'll be posting stuff from the United Center, live posting in that. I maybe I'll send out some live tweets during. I've stayed away from it just because I'm not I don't, as much as I enjoy Twitter and the community in that, I don't like necessarily going on Twitter during the game. But I also realize like maybe I should try it out. So give us a follow at Aidan Coons, at Joe_Jackson2210. Follow the podcast. We're calling this Feed the Post, where you kind of on the Braggs YouTube channel, but Feed the Post. We're on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Really appreciate everybody tuning in for this, for all the podcasts, just in general. The sport, it's been really cool being able to just have this little corner where we talk hoops for a couple hours per week. I've enjoyed it a lot.
Oh yeah, it's been great. I mean, I think we started this, I think, in January, and so now we're finally getting to go live. We had talked about that at some point, so we're doing that now. And we appreciate the guys who have stayed in here the whole time. It's been probably a long 90 minutes for you guys to listen to us go on and on, but we appreciate it, and be on the lookout for next week. Like I said, I think you guys are really going to like that interview with Braden Smith's dad. He gives a really good perspective. So
for sure.
We look forward to that, and we will have content up throughout the tournament and beyond. So
let us know if we're like, or at least I've thought of the idea of like maybe just 20-30 minutes at the end of like a March, Thursday, Friday, whatever, during the tournament, just going live at the end, just recapping the day and stuff. Let us know if you'd be interested in that. But the Tippecanoe County goodbye. Yeah.
That's good.
We have to keep with tradition. The tradition here is to get that long goodbye. And, if Braggs is watching or at some point will be watching, I just didn't want to let him down. So seems like that is it, though. We appreciate everybody tuning in, and then we will, have a podcast out soon, live show, all that. Hopefully talking a Purdue Big Ten championship at some point. So
thanks,
appreciate
guys.
you all.
Love you guys.